Hello everyone. Today in this video we will explore defense techniques from a personal vehicle using a stick. So this video of course does not aim to cover all the defense techniques of the vehicle with a stick, but it will highlight some key points and provide a number of answers. You can pick from all the techniques that I'm going to present depending on the situations and of course your abilities. This video shows how to avoid a threat, how to carry a stick for maximum efficiency, how to manage getting out of the vehicle with a stick, how to manage movements around the vehicle during a stick engagement, and how to use the stick at night. Before we start, I need to make the user recommendations. What we are going to see today are survival techniques to be used only in a strict framework of self-defense. So for the practical side, I will do demonstrations with a short stick here, which is the most suitable for transport and use from a vehicle. So, carrying a stick of this type is prohibited in France in public areas. However, there are many objects that resemble it, such as umbrellas, walking sticks, or telescopic Nordic walking sticks that are exactly the same size as this one, for example. So, all these elements can be legally transported on board the vehicle and in a case of force majeure. Obviously, when we no longer have a choice, we could imagine resorting to it. So, if you are abroad, there are many countries where carrying a simple stick is totally allowed, and even authorities often advise carrying a stick for protection against stray dogs. So, I insist one last time, make sure you know about the objects you can carry in your vehicle. Check with the local authorities if necessary, especially because laws change quickly. And be very careful never to find yourself in illegality. So how to avoid a threat now? The best survival rule is to avoid confrontation above all else. So it is increasingly recommended to lock your vehicle and close the side windows when you do not feel safe. So it's a good thing to do. But above all, think about positioning your vehicle when possible, when the engine is running and you are stopped. That's the moment when you'll be most vulnerable. So, learn to position your vehicle in a way that you can easily clear out if an incident occurs. When you're in a sensitive area, try to anticipate a quick start. Don't stick to the vehicle in front of you, and above all, don't get blocked. You should aim to have a functional vehicle as often as possible. Escaping in a vehicle will protect you from 99% of the usual threats. And in this scenario, 4x4s are a major safety feature. Really an advantage. The 4x4 will allow you to change direction or make a U-turn almost anywhere, to go over a central median or a sidewalk, especially if you have anticipated the blockage. As a last resort and before fleeing, also know that there is the possibility to push or even collide with your vehicle, especially when it is heavy and powerful. So let's now see how to carry the stick with maximum efficiency. So carrying it at the back of the vehicle, either at the passenger space or the trunk, will generally be ineffective. You will really have little responsiveness, and maneuvers will automatically be detected by a potential opponent. So going to get a stick from the back of the vehicle will make you vulnerable. You might even get blocked quite easily by retrieving a stick from the trunk, for example. So unfortunately, even though the transport is more discreet at the back, it's completely out of the question if you need to be reactive with the stick. So we're really going to talk about a functional preparation in transport. So this stick format, we can put it here at this level or at the level of the door pocket. So these are the natural locations that will allow you good reactivity. So the stick is already quite bulky in a small vehicle, so you really need to have it as close as possible. Obviously, depending on the specifics of your vehicle, you can always find different and sometimes very effective locations, but always nearby. So, how to manage the exit of the vehicle with the stick. Now, first of all, it must be said that if you are facing a real threat, the worst option will be to stay in your vehicle at a stop. So, there are several reasons. Firstly, you're trapped in your vehicle. You will have a very poor understanding of the environment. You will have a poor perception of the sound environment. You won't hear voices well, and above all, your field of vision will be reduced then. Secondly, the aggressor or aggressors will focus on your vehicle, in which you will ultimately be trapped. Moreover, it's very easy for an adversary, you should know, to break a side window without any problem, so you don't have the initiative. The adversary will stay in his psychological tunnel. Nothing will stop him, and the situation for him will freeze. Nothing will be questioned. He will commit to every gesture and word. His environment and the factors influencing his decisions will remain the same or even intensify due to his actions. So, staying in these conditions in your vehicle will give you a false sense of security. If your vehicle is stuck and you are able to act, the first thing to do is always to get out of the vehicle. If only to buy some time, if you still have the opportunity. If there are several capable adults, so I'm excluding here young children, very old or disabled people, everyone should get out. You need to create movement, take the initiative in order to confuse this potential adversary and break his decision-making loop. In motion, you will always be more difficult to reach, regardless of the means your adversary will have. So, how do we get out of the vehicle now? First of all, make sure your vehicle is properly stopped, well anchored. We pull the handbrake energetically to avoid having to repeat the action. All the vehicle's windows must be closed. And turn on the hazard lights if you have time to draw attention to your vehicle, day and night. If the opponent intends to harm you and leave, unseen and unknown, it will be deterrent. It can discourage him. Of course, it can also encourage a potential passerby to stop and come to your aid. Remove the keys at that moment and put them in the left pocket. Depending on the situation, it is also possible to give the keys to a passenger who is capable of moving the vehicle to be as quick as possible. We unbuckle the seatbelt out of habit. There's no need to complicate things at that moment, as you must manage everything precisely. The door is normally opened. You can also open it here with your foot so as to block the door if the threat is very close. Otherwise, we open it normally. So this blockage with the foot, which is very well known, is the procedure if the threat is very close. In order to keep control of the door at all times and so as not to get blocked or trapped by an individual, for example, who would be heavier. So it's crucial. You have to keep your mobility. It's one of the reasons why you have to be quick to free yourself from the vehicle. Furthermore, this pivotal moment of exiting the vehicle, if you are quick and you are the first on the ground, you can use it to your advantage to block a potential aggressor in anticipation in his vehicle. Just before opening the door, we position the stick at this level so that we can have it in hand quickly if needed. For exiting the vehicle, we're going to lean here on the left arm so as to be able to extract ourselves quickly and dynamically. To extract ourselves from the vehicle, we pivot as much as possible here so as to have a better support as soon as we exit. Before exiting, you can quickly scan here over 180 degrees. Aside from this quick scan, if the threat is clearly located, we maintain maximum visual contact with the individual in order to have better situational control. So, depending on the situation, the door will serve as a mask or even cover for you. And it makes a good shield against threats that would arise barehanded or with a bladed weapon. So, depending on the situation, you can also take a pause to negotiate or to arm yourself discreetly. So if the situation really deteriorates and you consider it reasonable to arm yourself, you take the stick that is already positioned, you quickly close the door, and lock the vehicle if you have the time. So, by the way, do not neglect the maintenance of the centralized locking system, which is a good security feature. Locking the vehicle allows people who have remained inside to be relatively safe. Here we have the problem of young children specifically. The most reasonable thing is to leave them inside and closed, because your subject, unfortunately, at this level is to manage priorities. So, we're talking about imminent dangers that leave you with few alternatives. We're not talking about usual road safety in a peaceful environment. So, this stopped and closed vehicle setup will allow you to move around vehicles, if necessary, with a bit more peace of mind. If one of the individuals had the idea to enter the vehicle, which is common, it's necessary to make it difficult for them. As a general rule, the more you make it difficult for them, the more likely they are to give up, even though nothing is guaranteed. At this point, if you consider the threat too significant and you are alone, it's always time to take shelter. By leaving the vehicle in the best conditions, if engagement can't be avoided, I get out, I create movement, that's the basic rule. Or I get out, I create movement, I strike, I retreat. If you're alone, it will generally be preferable to clear near your vehicle and use urban furniture or the natural environment. So, this already complicates the task for your opponent. It's likely to disorient him. So it's important to understand that every time a situation changes, evolves, becomes more complex. If you have a good understanding of your environment and if you take the initiative, it will offer you opportunities. Your opponent will have to make choices, and you can often take advantage of these choices. Advantage to protect yourself, to flee, or even to take the upper hand in certain situations. Once out and armed, don't always stick to the vehicle, even if your family's inside. Sometimes it will be preferable to direct an aggressor to a very open area so that someone can come to your aid. Other times, it will be more interesting to take cover and use the obstacles you find to protect yourself. Also, do not neglect the interest in sparing the details of an altercation to the people who remained in the vehicle. Other times, it will be better to circle around the vehicle. Never cluster around the vehicle in groups. Always split up the group. It's the most destabilizing thing for an attacker and will protect the most of you. A classic technique is to take cover while maintaining the best possible mobility. Put objects like a vehicle, street furniture, or a tree between you and the attacker. Turn in the opposite direction to his movements in order to escape him. If you have multiple opponents, use the same technique. Try to move in a way to align two opponents. So, this will help to avoid multi-directional attacks as much as possible. So these are techniques that require good dynamism and a real ability for situational analysis. At this level, we are really working on techniques that are being developed. So, for the use of the stick at night, I advise you to have a tactical flashlight of this type in the glove compartment. For your information, this one is a night core with a quite technical striking bezel here. It's a flashlight that remains authorized for carrying and transport and can be used as an impact tool to break windows. But it will also be a good option for self-defense. Its use can be combined with a baton. Furthermore, we have here a high luminance lamp, namely 4,000 lumens, so with a range of more than 200 meters. Which can also temporarily blind a potential opponent. So the simplest method of using this in combination with stick defense is to hold the full point lamp with the weak hand, like here. So it allows for bracing, it also allows for a guard, and it allows for temporary blinding for the blows that can be delivered with the lamp. Of course, we will have the hammer strikes called hammer strikes, which will be really very effective but difficult to pass. Or you will have to be really in close combat, and you will also have the backhand strikes, but in pronation, like this, so which are very effective strikes, really devastating strikes. So with full force, we can evolve. Place the lamp at the level of the temple, at the level of the jaw, or here crossed when we are behind a cover, so at the level of the jaw, You have something that resembles a boxing guard, obviously. At the temple level, you have a wider opening with a much larger amplitude wheel on the left. In reality, you are almost at 360 degrees if you have good mobility. If you are at the neck level, your amplitude will be much more limited. With lamps of this type, which are very powerful, it can be a problem in urban areas in particular. The reflected light may blind you depending on the surfaces it bounces off of. So you can set the lamp at 45 degrees here. It allows for a less aggressive approach as well, and then you can orient it horizontally if needed. The lamp will allow you to temporarily blind the opponent and destabilize them. The proper use is to proceed with successive flashes during your movements when it lends itself to it. If it stays on, the lamp will also materialize your presence in the darkness. So we will know where you are, whereas intermittently, you will be much more stealthy. So the lamp is an additional element. The flash of the lamp is an additional element. But it's the use of the stick and the use of the lamp as an impact tool that will be the most effective, of course. That concludes this initial approach to vehicle stick defense. I hope you enjoyed these demonstrations. Feel free to comment, and I'll see you soon for the next video.